Like, I remember having a discussion when I was a teenager about whether a good way to pick up a chick was to see somebody like waiting for a bus or something
A good way to pick up a chick is to see somebody waiting for a bus,
and
okay,
offer to give them a ride.
and then offer to give them a ride. Okay, offering to give them a ride.
I'm describing a state of affairs from the past prior to when the internet was around, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, in the complete absence of information like that, this is the sort of crazy nonsense that people resorted to. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. He's ignoring that entirely and just pretending as though I'm making those claims myself. It's, I mean,
yeah. I don't think, is he really listening?
He's not listening. He's not doing anything. And this shit he's saying, like, direct, informative. For God's sake, man. You're trying to type me on that? You're such a joke.
Feeling, but it's also very expert at sensing. You see someone, waiting for a bus, you offer them a ride. You're being nice. So,
hey, Chase, I don't do that. I was describing what kind of conversation teenage boys had back in the 80s because they had no information about how to get girls. Would that be a good way to do it? I wasn't advocating that it was a good way to do it. I was hearing from other people things like, maybe this is a way to get chicks. That's how dumb we were back then. That's the message. You're saying that I like to pick up chicks waiting for the bus by offering them a ride.
Super control. Like, he is just taking his jolly sweet time to actually say something, right? I mean, but no. I mean, he's on.
Chase, if you pay any attention to my videos overall, you would know that it depends a great deal as to whether I'm fast or slow. I've been accused of going way too fast many times. I'm a debate coach, for God's sake. You're presenting this shit as though it were worth hearing, as though it were information, when you can't even begin to analyze me. You didn't even begin to touch anything. You addressed no fucking things that matter at all. This direct whatever. What I did, okay, here's what I did last night in the live stream. C.S. Joseph. I freestyled a poem in metered verse. That is to say, I made up a poem on the fly that rhymed, that was perfectly metrically sound, and that was a complete poem. That's an ENTP. You think I'm not an ENTP? You think I'm not an ENTP? Look at this. For God's sakes. I mean, think with your fucking brain for a second. Why am I an ENTP and you aren't? Well, because, unlike you, I have hundreds of songs uploaded. Hundreds of them. I make songs about chicken pot pie. I make songs about chicken pot pie. I'm not an ESTP. I make songs about children with potatoes. I'm not an ESTP.
Charlie, Merlin, Charmaline, Railing, Charmaine, Marmaline. We're arguing regarding sorts of marmalade, mowing, going, and chocolate caramel gargling. The part we do regarding me alarmingly alarming, like alarming towards anomaly. Proceeding with this homily, and Jesus really homily, and subsequently following the future garbling. Charlie, Marlene, and Charmaline, Railing, Charmaine, Marmaline, and I keep longer gargling, which matter was most alarming.
What ESTP makes that song with all of those words? Any sane person out there want to answer this question for me? How does anybody who claims they know anything about typology say that I'm an ESTP? Hey, look at this shit. Super chat requests get priority, and highest super chat gets the highest priority over other super chats. Thank you for supporting the channel. Help keep the lights on. Exclusive content. Super chats are open.
It's like every single thing you say, he's making a comment on. So you could say, like, cats are cool. And
The YouTube channel is made almost entirely out of cheese.
The YouTube channel made out of
Yes,
cheese. Awesome. Okay, so nice little physical component there. Gonna put a little bit more for extroverted sensing.
Live streaming again.
Hi friends, this is Eric, host of Talking with Famous People, and I am making this video as a second response video to the C.S. Joseph live stream. I don't know which one I'm going to upload, perhaps this one, perhaps the other one, or some combination of the two. I watched it. It was surprisingly weak. It was just like, he's got nothing. He argued that because I spoke slowly in this one chunk of a live stream that he watched, that I was an SE user. Well, I don't think it's the case that SE users speak slowly, and I don't think it's the case that I speak slowly. It's the case that I was speaking slowly right then, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm more deliberate in my communication than others. Regardless, that's not something that really links to cognitive functions, and there's no reason to think it does. He's not provided any reason to think it does, certainly. Another thing he said was that this ridiculous... Okay, so I was telling a story in the live stream about how back in the 80s, before we had any internet information, we had no means of understanding how to get with chicks. And we'd have crazy talks like, well, I wonder how you could pick them up. Maybe if they're waiting for the bus, you could stop and say, hey, you want to ride? I gave this thing as an example of the sort of terrible ideas that came up in conversations back when I was a teenager to demonstrate how much better it is when you have more information, and to reveal that, you know, things have changed a lot. Chase said, well, you're saying something very obvious there, to say that things changed a lot. Well, I mean, the point is, I'm not just saying things have changed a lot, I'm giving an example of how, and revealing the ways in which access to more information has helped improve people. So if that's not worth hearing from me or something, fine, but the notion that you can conclude from there that I think it's a good idea to offer a girl a ride who's sitting at a bus stop is to get the whole thing ass backwards. The whole point of it was that's the stupidest idea ever. It's just some crazy notion that comes up between boys who don't have any access to any information because there's no internet. I'm not saying that I would do that, but Chase interpreted it as though I had made that claim, that I was somebody who was going to go, who was likely to ask a girl at a bus stop if she needs a ride. Of course, that's not me at all. And no intelligent person would have interpreted what I said that way. The way that he interpreted it, it's like he can't understand words or something. To conclude that he can type me as somebody who picks up chicks from a bus stop from that story, and that I'm ESTP as a consequence, I mean, I'm embarrassed for him, frankly. It's embarrassingly dumb. He also said this, that when I said my channel was made entirely out of cheese, that makes me more likely to be an extroverted sensor because it includes a physical element. What ESTP would ever describe their own channel as being made out of cheese? Which one? Never. Never in a million years would that happen. And it's like using metaphors, according to C.S. Joseph, makes you an ESTP, I guess. Except he doesn't seem to understand it's a metaphor. He thinks I'm literally saying it's made out of cheese, I guess, because he's the dumbest man in history. I don't know. He also said that because I talked about wanting loyalty in my relationships, that I was SE and I. Seeking loyalty is an SE thing. Who doesn't want loyalty in their relationships? Loyalty doesn't seem to be cognitive function related. It maybe relates to your particular experience, but I think everybody expects loyalty from those who are closest to them, to not, run at a moment's first dark cloud. You expect somebody to be committed, attached, and loyal. And It's true for anybody who has any kind of deep relationship or whatever, you know? So, C.S. Joseph, of course, the key thing to note here is he did no actual looking into me at all. If he had looked into me at all, he would have seen, what the hell is this? Oh, I get it. It's from a video there. He would have seen that there's no impossible way you could consider me an ESTP if you're sane. If you look at my playlist, I've got all kinds of wacky shit, right? I've got all these wacky songs. I've got, you know, Debate Police. I got this. Here's the sort of thing that C.S. Joseph. Now, C.S. Joseph would see these chicks in this thing and go, see, ESTP. He's all about slaying the puss. He's all about the strippers. He's all about the hoes. Except that's about as deep as his analysis goes. Because the reality is, the reason these pictures are in here is because they're thematically, I just kept the same pictures and put a different song because this is just a mix. This is unlisted, right? This is the song that these pictures are from. And this song, these pictures are thematically consistent with the song, which, while it does include talk about hoes and stuff, is about Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Okay? So C.S. Joseph would look at this and go, oh, Eric's really into hoes and strippers and stuff. Completely missing the fact that it's a joke.
I got my hoes, I got my Benz, I got my caps, and then again, I got my drugs and my gang and my strippers, all the same. I've got everything that I need. I'm rolling down the highway, moving at top speed, looking out for a reason to see.
Yeah, see, there you see it. Strippers, see? It's SE for sure. Put another Italian or SE. Like strippers.
I got all kinds of
I don't like strippers.
rolling in the band, down the highway, super fast. Going to another super awesome conference for Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice. Florida's natural grapefruit juice.
ESTP. Always loving the Florida's natural. ESTP. Let me ask you this. Would an ESTP make a song about potatoes?
The courteous potato men politely sell potato skins as beers to wear upon the chins of everyone with cash to spend. Potato beers distinguish one and also are a lot of fun. And when the wearing time is done, then one can chew his beard like gum. But Frances is contrary, and so though she loves her tuber friend, she will not jump aboard the trend and leaves her chin as her own skin and clashes.
Okay. That started out as a poem, a long poem, perfect meter verse, all the way through, rhyming all the way through, and I turned it into a song, and it's about a girl who comes up with a new product, which is potato brows, and sells them at the store and makes potato friends and stuff like that. This is not ESTP work we're talking about. It just isn't. In any sane world, this is not an ESTP's work. Now, the reason C.S. Joseph is convinced that I'm an ESTP is because he has no idea at all what extroverted intuition is. Extroverted intuition is that thing he does very poorly, okay? Here, this is extroverted intuition.
Charlie, Merlin, Charmaline, Railing, Charmaine, and Marmalade. We're arguing regarding sorts of marmalade, Mullen, and Chumpa, Crumble, Gargling, stuff like me too regarding the alarmingly alarming like alarmist towards anomaly. Proceeding with this homily and juiceless wavy homily, and subsequently following the fever garble, garbling, Charlie, Marlene, and Charmaline, Railing, Charmaine, and Marmalade, and argued long regarding which matter was most alarming. They argued somewhat slurringly and all four talk concurrently until Railing and Charmaline and also darling Marmalene felt all array of bad and mean and eager to start bartering secession of this arguing.
See this, Joseph? You could never do anything like that in a million billion years. Never could you make anything like that in a million billion trillion years. Why? Because your extroverted intuition is shitty. And you also, incidentally, have no concept of what it is. That's why you think you're an EHP. And if you're an EHP, impress me a little bit. Don't be utterly incompetent in your analysis. Don't be utterly weak in your ideation. Don't be utterly dismissive in your argumentation. Don't just be an actual EHP. Come talk to me, Have a conversation. Get your ass whooped, for God's sakes. You wouldn't stand a minute in any kind of debate with me, in any kind of conversation. I would wipe the floor with you in 5 seconds. You have no business even standing in the same room with me. So come have that conversation. If you're not a coward, come and have that conversation. You want to talk shit? Come talk to me. Be a man. Come talk to me directly. I will talk to you face to face, video conference. We will have a discussion. Or continue to hide in shame. That's your 2 choices. C.S. Joseph. Continue to be a hiding shame monkey, or come and talk to me in person like a man. Otherwise, just shut your mouth. It's shockingly dumb. You are a shockingly dumb man.
Again, and really
I'm gonna
looking
skip
for your
ahead.
faith, belief in the absence of evidence. If you don't believe in me as a human being in that regard, then you shouldn't be with me. Now it's true.
Then you shouldn't be with me. That's also an extroverted sensing. Looking for people to be loyal to him.
You do choose to invest faith.
Looking for loyalty is extroverted sensing? Why is looking for loyalty extroverted sensing? Any explanation at all for that? Of course not.
That's a good point. He's making comments without actually real critiques.
Right, there's no critique, there's no analysis. It's just claims. Just claims being made randomly. Presumably it fits into his system in some way, but he's obviously just looking for whatever piece of anything he can choose to direct towards SE, even though I'm obviously not SE.
Extroverted sensing is all about trying to find other people who are trying to invest faith in them, right? Another extroverted sensing standpoint. Okay, it's all about loyalty. It's all about faith. Faith is a form of loyalty that extroverted sensors seek for introverted sensing.
Faith is a form of loyalty that extroverted sensors seek for introverted sensing. Faith is something I had to learn the hard way when I quit drinking, prior to which I was very nihilistic, actually. But regardless, such things are not linked to cognitive functions. They're linked to life experience. You could use a little faith in something other than yourself, that's for sure. Because nobody should have any faith in you at all. Period. The end.